In Photoshop CS06, typography has never been more powerful. The selection of typefaces, however, is truly an art. We are going to start with the Type tool, and if you click and hold or right-click on the Type tool, you will see you have 4 choices. Horizontal type, which we will use now, vertical for going straight up and down, and 2 that create selections. They can be used for special effects, but I really never use them. I mostly stick with the horizontal type tool, or in certain cases, I might want vertical type. So with the horizontal type tool, I am going to create point type. Point type means I simply click once anywhere on my image or my Photoshop document, and it creates a line of type from that spot on where you clicked, and we are working on a fixed Tissues app for a mobile device or a device, could be a tablet, could be a smartphone, and I am calling it Feed Me Series. Now you will notice how small the type is. It's difficult to see, so I will choose Select All, but I am more likely to do Command A or Control A. So once I select all, a very unique and cool feature in Photoshop is Scrubby Sliders. In fact, Illustrator CS6 now has these, and so do many of the video app. With Scrubby Sliders, I can click and drag up diagonally. If you try to drag straight right or straight left, it doesn't respond as smoothly, but I can click and drag up diagonally to visually make this bigger or smaller. And I am going to leave it on the font Mariam Pro when we are finished, because that's very close to the default font of my smartphone. However, if you would like to experiment with typefaces, you are looking for just the right typeface to convey a message. You could click in the word Marriott or in the name of the font anywhere, and on your keyboard hit your up arrow key or down arrow key to go alphabetically to every font on your system. In some cases, this may stop within an encounters of a symbol font, so you can click the arrow to the right and skipped past a symbol font, like Marlette. So when I went to the next one, I could continue to get my up arrow key to go up alphabetically, or I can use the wheel on my mouse to wheel up and wheel down to play with fonts. So many different ways to do this. You do have your type menu where you could actually bring up your character panel or paragraph panel. And now in Photoshop CS6, there are styles. But rather than bring them up one at a time, I am going to go back to Marriott Pro and hit MY or MYR, typing the first couple letters of the font that you want, and pressing Return or Enter will make that change. The style is to your right. I am going to select Regular. My size is 91, and this is something you could set visually, and the next choice you have here is Sharp. Now, before we go too far, I am going to switch to my Move tool. By going to my Move tool, I can now see, instead of the Essentials workspace, we might want to be on Typography. By selecting Typography, it brings out the Character panel, the Paragraph panel, and also Paragraph and Character styles. So I will click back on Character, and I will hit the letter T on my keyboard for type. And when I go to select my text, you don't want to see this cursor, technically called the I-beam because your cursor looks like the letter I. If you see this and you click, I have actually created another type. I am going to hit A Escape, or you can click up here to cancel. I really don't want a new type layer, and when it came my cursor until the I-beam shows by itself without the arrow, and the box around it the dotted lines. When I am here, it's best not to aim for the beginning or end of the word, because you might miss in anywhere in the middle, and a double click will select the word. A triple click will select the entire line. But working away across the control panel, you will see you have options for anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing makes smooth type. It does blending of your background and the text so it looks smoother on screen. And the default anti-aliasing method is Sharp, but I have built for you 2 example documents, and I am actually can and drag this over to the left side of my screen so I can split them side by side. I look for them blue bar to pop up, And now I could see anti-alias white, black, and anti-alias black, white, and what I set out for you here is each anti-aliasing method: smooth, strong, crisp, sharp, and 9, and I have done it in large type as well as small type. Which technique of anti-aliasing or which method of anti-aliasing you select may depend on whether you are doing a italic type, or whether you have dark text on a light background, or light text on a dark background. And again, I was on my type tool and inadvertently made a new layer. You will do that often. It's okay that you do that. I will just hit escape to cancel that instead of clicking cancel. But as I look through these, I find myself typically drawn to crisp in most circumstances. Smooth is my second favorite, but you will find that you lean towards one or the other. I do know for a fact I do not like no anti-aliasing. There you could really see jagged rough edges, unless I am doing a special effects like an old school look of the Space Invaders game, or you could see every giant square pixel. I use it for special effects sometimes, or to give the idea of old computers or something ancient, but ideally I want my text to be readable. That's the goal of text. Draw the reader to the appropriate spot on the page and make it easily readable or legible. To finish this, I am going to come back to my iPhone app mockup that we are creating, and I will right-click or control-click and choose Consolidate All to here so that it Feed Me series in front and the other two are in the background. Now I am not using styles yet because text only exists on one spot on the page, so I will double-click Paragraph Styles to collapse it. What I want to do is center this text to the app, and I will visually position everything else. If you are editing text, you actually do not need to switch to the Move tool to move it. You simply move above or below, and now I can position this where I would like it. If I am in the letters, it's actually just moving my flashing cursor, or double-click or triple-click will select, but anywhere outside the letters, and I am moving the entire block. To align this text perfectly centered, I am going to my Move tool, and on the Mac, hold down Command, or on Windows, hold down Control and click Background. Since my background is locked and it is the entire size of this mock-up, I can go to my options bar across the top of the screen and perfectly center the words Feed Me series. Then I can go back to my type tool and click once to go back into text edit mode and triple click to select the text. Centering here only centers from the initial point you clicked on, and since there isn't more than one line of type, left alignment will be fine. Centering to the layer is actually much more important in Photoshop. And finally, before I commit to this text, I do want to make sure every letter space looks even. It makes more readable text. So in the character panel, I will choose Optical Kerning. Optical kerning kicks in an engine in Photoshop which goes above and beyond the kerning pair as built by the font vendor, if any, and does better letter spacing. I always prefer it and I always turn it on. I am going to go back to my Move tool, and now that the letter spaces has changed, I will hold down Command or Control to select my background with the Feed Me series text, and I will center again. And that is the end of my brief tour of putting type in, sizing type, selecting your fonts. Take some time to work along with his video and experiment with the settings in the options bar for type. Try this Scrubby Sliders on size and experiment with your anti-aliasing method until you feel comfortable setting type in Photoshop on your own.